So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I think for those who don't know me, my name's Corinne Dobson, and I'm the CEO of ACT Shelter, the peak body for housing justice in the ACT. And just before we do make a start into the session, I just wanted to begin by acknowledging the Ngunnawal, Ngambri and Ngurrugu peoples as the traditional custodians of the Canberra region from which I'm joining you from today. I pay my respects to elders past and present, acknowledging their continuing custodianship of these lands and waters, and recognise that sovereignty was never ceded. And given the focus of today's discussion, I think it's also important to acknowledge that the poorer housing outcomes and disproportionate rates of homelessness that we do see among Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, including here in the ACT, is inextricably linked to that history of colonisation and the enduring effects of dispossession and ongoing discrimination. I also welcome any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who may be joining us today, and also for those who might be joining us from outside of Canberra and the ACT, also acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands from which you're also joining us. So thank you for taking the time to be here. And I'd also just want to welcome our colleagues from the Australian Bureau of Statistics and thank them for partnering with ACT Shelter on today's session. With the census just a few weeks away, we know this is an incredibly busy time, and we do appreciate ABS's active engagement with the housing and homelessness sector to help ensure we get a complete count, or as complete as possible, for the census. So from ACT Shelter's perspective, this is a really important conversation. The census remains one of Australia's most important sources of data on housing need and homelessness. And we also know what is counted shapes what is seen, and what is seen helps shape what is prioritised, including by government. We also know that people experiencing homelessness are also among those who may be most likely to be missed in official statistics. Some cohorts who are homeless are also less visible than others, and that can mean the official picture can understate the true scale and diversity of homelessness. So that's exactly why this work is so important. We know, though, that good data on its own doesn't guarantee good policy. And we know that there are many very well evidenced issues where we don't see action. But we also know that without good data, it becomes much harder to understand the nature of the challenge, to make the case for investment, or to hold government to account for responding effectively. Let me see, I'm just getting a little bit of echo there. I might just if you aren't speaking, if you could just mute your mic. Let me just do that there, I think. Okay. So, so getting the census count as complete and as accurate as possible matters because the census data informs how homelessness is understood, how policy is made, how services are planned, and how resources are allocated. And so today's session is about understanding how that process works, how homelessness is counted, but also trying to look at what the sector and what we can do to help support that effort to make the count as complete and as accurate as possible. So the ABS will be explaining how homelessness is counted, and how the data is used, and importantly, as I said, what organisations and frontline services can do to support an accurate count. So just a few housekeeping points before we begin. As I said, just please keep your mic muted unless you're speaking. We also encourage questions throughout the presentation. So we'll have the questions at the end, but feel free, if you do have questions, to pop them into the chat, and we'll work through them, as many as we can, during the Q&A at the end. And at that Q&A at the end, you can also pop your hand up, and we'll try to get to you if you have time. As I mentioned, today's session is being recorded, so I know that there are a number of people who wanted to join the session but weren't able to, so we're hoping to be able to make that available on our website after the session. And the session we'll just run for an hour. I really will try to stick to time. So I won't speak any longer. I'll shortly hand over to our speaker from the ABS before opening up for questions and discussion. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce Deb Fleming. Deb's the local engagement officer for homelessness with the ABS, and she's working across the ACT, Queanbeyan and Goulburn regions. So Deb, thank you for joining us today, and over to you.
Thanks, Corinne. Fortunately, you gave me just enough time to get my technology sorted, because I had to come in and out a couple of times to thank you very much for that. Welcome to everyone. I do have a slide screen that I'm going to share as soon as I can figure out. Hopefully this will work, but first I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to be here today, and yes, to echo what Corinne has said, the data that the census brings in is critical to the provision, the forward planning for government, and also for organisations such as yourselves in terms of applying for funding and also determining, where your priorities are for spending that funding. So without too much further, I'm going to hopefully bring up a presentation that you can all see. Oh, it's thinking about it. So, there we go. Can everyone see that okay? Okay, is that showing as a slideshow, or are you seeing everything? Probably doesn't matter that much as long as I can get it to work. As you would probably be aware, census is the mainstream census covers off on 90% of the population that live at what we call a regular address. And then there is the inclusive strategies part of the census, of which the homelessness sector is one of 4. There are others, and we'll get to that in a minute. But first, like Corinne, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the country. Sorry, Joseph, I just saw your link. So shall I pause, Corinne, or do you want to sort that out in the background?
Oh, okay. So there were 2 different Teams links that were sent. Okay. Thank you for letting me know. I will sort that out, try and sort that out in the back end, and you keep going, Deb, and I'll just try and look to see if I can address that. Thank you. Thank you, Joseph.
Sure, no worries. And look, we can recap if we find that there's been a lack. So where was I? I was paying our respects to the cultures and elders past and present, and letting you know that, like most of you, I imagine, I'm coming to you from Ngunnawal country. So in terms of the census, overall, it happens every 5 years. It counts every person and home in Australia, and it is technically it's compulsory for everyone in Australia. However, that is probably not something that we're going to advertise heavily in terms of our counting in the homelessness sector, because we don't want to appear too big brother, I guess. It is also mandatory for anybody that's in Australia on census night, even if you're a visitor or temporary worker, etc., etc. In terms of the inclusive strategy scope, essentially, I guess, big picture, that is all about trying to reduce barriers to participation, because people from these sectors are traditionally undercounted, and that's something that this strategy is designed to try and maximise participation. So in our homelessness strategy, essentially our big picture is we want to do whatever we can and be wherever we need to be in order to make it as easy as possible for people experiencing homelessness to participate, and to make it as least threatening as possible. Because the feedback that we've been getting from the sector is that there is a large distrust of government, for no doubt very good reasons. So we're trying very hard to mitigate, have strategies in place to mitigate that. And if any of you have suggestions for that at any point, I would really welcome hearing that. It's we're dotting the I's and crossing the T's on the plan as we speak, and there's still room for additions to the plan. So some of you would be aware of the street side medics that have just recently started up in Canberra. I believe that they've been in other states in Australia for quite some time. And I'll just go over our strategy generally and also give you some definitions. So from the ABS perspective, their definition, the ABS definition of homelessness is slightly different to what you probably generally think of in the sector. Happy to be proven wrong on that. But essentially comes down to if you're in a dwelling that's inadequate, if you don't have tenure or you've got short tenure and it's not extendable, or if you do not have control of and access to space for social relations. So that obviously covers quite a range of people that that may not be considered technically homeless, but because they don't have any security where they're living, they do qualify as homeless under the ABS definition. So there are several different, I guess we've roughly divided it into 3 different types of approaches and also segments within the sector. The first one is the rough sleepers, and they're people that are sleeping in their cars, in tents. I'm sure I don't need to explain that to you. They will be counted by use of the special short form, and it's just a 2-page form. We will have those forms on our rounds. I'll go into our rounds a little bit more, but so we'll have people allocated, community field officers, to talk to people that are sleeping rough and gather their information. Also, if they refuse to give their information, we also have a form for actually capturing that as well, so that we have some indication of how many people were willing to participate. We also have the next area is people staying in crisis accommodation, shelters, refuges or boarding houses. So that is places similar to, I guess, Ainslie Lodge would be a good example in the Canberra region. And for that approach, each of those individuals will be issued with a personal form. Personal form does have a lot of questions. And one of the things that I guess that I would like to stress to everybody in this room is that if people are not prepared to fill in all of the form, try not to be too intimidated by it. We just want you to fill in as much as you can. And there's one critical element to that, and that is under your suburb to put none. Now, I will circulate some information that Corinne can, or somehow we can get some information out to you all that actually specifies exactly how we would like the form to be completed so that we capture them into the homeless sector. But essentially, it comes down to just one thing. The suburb has to have none, or it has to have none crisis. And there is a definition on when should be used, but it's probably not significant as long as we get one of those 2. The other part of the sector that is probably quite difficult to capture is people couch surfing. The thing, I guess, that a lot of these people they're just going to be, they're staying in a house, so they will be picked up by the household form that goes to every address in Australia. There's a couple of things that may be barriers to them wanting to fill in that form. They may not want to get the owners or the tenants, the head head leaseholder of that property into trouble because they're staying there and they're not on the lease. And they may have information privacy concerns around their information going onto the same form as the people whose house they are living in, couch surfing in. So they have two options in that instance. They can, in the household form, there is room for 6 people. They can merely fill in as one of those people, and once again, under suburb, they simply put none. If they are not comfortable with that and they have privacy concerns, then they can fill in a personal form, and that way their data is kept completely separate to that of the rest of the household. The other thing that has been stressed to us as we've investigated and talked to the community, and I want to give you the exact words, so excuse me while I read from this. But this is on all of the brochures, and it says your personal information is safe. Your answers are confidential and they're protected by law. They are not shared with anyone, including the police, Census, or the housing office. And if you want to find out more, there's information on the Census website /privacy. So there's 3 forms that will be the household form, which will be delivered to every house, the personal form, which will be delivered to boarding houses and the like, and the special short form, which will be used by community field officers to gather information at the hubs and when we're doing the rounds with the night patrol, for example. So the operational groups, look, I feel like we've probably already covered that. But the one thing that I haven't spoken about is people living in severely crowded buildings. Now, the ABS have adopted the Canadian definition of severely crowded, and that is where there is 2 people or more in a bedroom. So that will be automatically picked up at the back end by, I think, they call them the data boffins. That will be automatically picked up from the form. So it's not something that we need to be conscious of capturing that information, but it's good to be aware that people that do fall into that will actually be captured in the homelessness data that comes out.
Too simple.
Matter. During the week of census, this is a sample of where we're going. Now we do have an extensive program across the ACT, and what we are going to, but I wanted to just give you a sample. I can give you all a more extensive list, which will then allow you to speak to your circulate that information as you see fit. I can also distribute some brochures, but in general, in terms of going around the circuit, we will be accompanying Vinnie's Night Patrol right through the census week. We will also be accompanying, our plan is to accompany Orange Sky. We're still pinning down the details of that, but that is basically right around their whole program. We're hoping to be at all of those locations. We'll also be providing some support, in-house support at the 3, I guess, ones where they're consistently across the whole week is Early Morning Centre on the day of census and right through to the end of the week, Vinnie's Roadhouse right through the entire week, and St Benedict's in Queanbeyan, which on the days that they're open, which is all of the weekdays except Thursday. And you can see there the times, but I can certainly circulate this information in a form so that you can distribute or utilise as you see fit. As some of you may already be aware, there are changes to census topics, and the one that is, I guess, getting the most coverage is that of gender. So the topics were reviewed by consultation across. Apparently, we received over 1,000 pieces of feedback, which I guess doesn't actually seem that much when we've got a population of over 25 million. But changes to questions across 10 existing topics. There's been an increase in the ancestry question, and the topic on gender and sexual orientation has been added for people aged 16 or over. So that's a completely new topic. For your interest, that is the top part is how it's going, how it shows in the form. The bottom was the word escapes me, consultation that was done in order to come up to that. So I guess the way it's changed is it used to be male, female, I guess, and now that that has been modified. As you can imagine, the data boffins in the back end have got a lot to do once they get all of this information. So we are not, unfortunately, expecting any information until early to mid 2028 specific to the homelessness sector. There will be more generic information coming out earlier. Generic's probably a terrible word, but key demographics, etc. How you can help. So we can, how we can help, I guess, is by providing you with information that you can distribute around the community. How you can help is by distributing it, by reinforcing the importance. One of the phrases that one of the service providers gave me, which I thought was very helpful, is we need to convince government how big the problem is so that they can make it a priority for their funding. So this is a sample. Sorry, I'm getting some. I think somebody put their mic on. Hearing my own voice in my own head is bad enough without hearing it in the background as well. This is a sample of the sort of information that we can provide, and we do have one specific to the homelessness sector where it's very clear exactly how we would like people to complete it. It also is very clear on the privacy so that the information does not get shared anywhere. Of course, we can say it, people still have to believe it, but at least if it's on there, then hopefully we can point people to that information. I guess from just from a understanding the process point of view, is once the forms are scanned, all the information gets split and then it's never linked up again. So that's it. That's my talking, which hopefully allows us a good amount of time for questions. Yeah, they're my details. Please feel free to reach out if you have a request or a suggestion. We're all ears. There is one thing, the other thing that I just wanted to share with you a little bit about our interaction with the sector so far, and what we have, what I guess the key messages that I've taken away from the information that we've been given is that we need to be in lots of places. We need to not look like government. We need to be approachable. We need to have information and have options for people to actually do the census in a way that they're comfortable with. And so because of that, the suggestion has been made, which we're picking up on, to come out in the week prior to census. So the overall game plan, I guess, is that next week we're going to come around to the organisations where we're going to be and also distribute more broadly to the community posters, flyers, that sort of thing. And then the week prior to census, we will be showing up at those places like the early morning centre, night patrol. We'll be there and we'll just be giving information, just encouraging people to come back next week. We're going to be here next week. We can help you fill in the form, and if you want, or we can clarify anything for you. So we're going to do that in the week prior, and then the week of census, we will be very present, I think, at lots of different locations. We are going to be at Ainslie Village at Blue Door all week as well. So I think we've got good coverage. Shall I hand back to you now, Corinne?
Yeah, and just picking up on what you said there, Deb. So we can perhaps put on our website. So we've set up a page that just has some of the information about the census and where we hope to put the recording from this from today's session up. But perhaps if you're okay with us doing that, would we be able to just put on there that schedule that you have, the outreach that you're doing? So with the Vinnie's night patrol and the other services that you mentioned. If you're happy for us to do that, we can put that there and just share that with people so that they can find that. And I think I did notice in the chat people mentioned that there wasn't as much on the south side. So are they able, can people reach out to, you've got your contact details there. If there are things that people want to talk to you about that or something that might be an option there, can they reach out to you? Can I contact you and just have a discussion about that? Is that okay?
Absolutely. I'd welcome that opportunity. One place that we are going to be, south side, is at the Little Pantry. I think that's Wednesdays. It's on their day that I'd have to double check the program to know exactly what day it is. But there is one day where we'll be here from 1 till 4. And in the final program, once everything's locked in, then I will certainly forward that to you, Corinne, and we can distribute that as broadly as we like.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And just to confirm it, and Robin did ask, we'll make those slides available as long as you're happy with that, Deb, on our website too. And just for those who joined later, many apologies. It is a pretty much one person operation at the moment here, and I accidentally attached the wrong email, the wrong Teams link to one of the reminder emails. I do apologize about that, but thank you for bearing with us and for joining us. So we do intend to make the recording available too. So if there was anything that you did miss at the beginning, I think hopefully you got to hear the main part there, but we will make that available. So I guess now we actually have a bit of time for questions. So I guess I will hand it over to everyone to see, do people have any questions that they want to ask? And please do feel free to do so, because now is the opportunity to do that, whether it's about the mechanics of what's happening on census night or how homelessness is counted. Please do feel free to, either you can pop something in the chat or you can raise your hand. Oh, okay. We do have something. I need to make sure that I'm keeping my eye on the chat. So we do have a question. So I'll just note, and Cam Darling did just also want to thank the ABS, and I think it is really important for recognising gender identity as relevant and important part of understanding Australian society, and that is, I think it's really good to finally see that there in the census. And we also had Harry Lomas from Advocacy for Inclusion has also just said that he'd be interested to hear about any work underway to improve the linkage between homelessness and disability data, particularly to better understand the pathways into and out of homelessness for people with psychosocial or cognitive disability. Deb, did you have any comments to make about that?
Yeah, look, I'm sorry, I can't. I can certainly take that under advisement and get back to you. I do not have any great knowledge on how it's all going to get disseminated once we get the information.
Yeah, do is there actually data collected within the census on psychosocial or cognitive disability? I mean, there's definitely data collected on disability, but I don't know if it goes to that level of detail or not.
No, look, I'm not sure. I'm not part of I'm specifically homelessness. I would have to. I can certainly get that information if you would like. The people living with a disability a is a specific part of the radar. There's four streams, so it's a specific stream. And certainly my understanding, just from my exposure to the disability sector recently, or in more recent times, is that it is much broader than it used to be. It's certainly not just restricted to people with mobility, or mental disabilities. It's certainly a much broader catch.
Yeah.
How those linkages work between how they'll, whether or not they'll manage to link that in the data, I'm not sure, and I don't believe, I could just double check now, but in the special short form, I don't believe there's any part. There's no reference there to disabilities. No, there's not. Sorry, I just checked. There's no reference on the special short form, which is the one that we will be using to enumerate the people that are actually sleeping rough.
Right. Okay. Or maybe it might be something also for us to think about post-census, and it does take a while for some of the data to be released, but actually to have a session about what data is actually there, and also how to use it, and to get some of those linkages, because even as someone working in the space and doing policy, sometimes I'm not sure that we fully make use of the data that's there, but it's also helps to actually understand how you can best do that. So that might be something for us to think about. I noticed Kylie's got a question in the chat, but I did notice Robin put her hand up too just before that. So I might go to you, Robin, if you wanted to ask a question. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just thanks, Deb, for the presentation. I did miss the beginning of it, but that's okay. My question was in relation to changes to question 10, specifically around cultural diversity and the ancestry questions. Are you able to expand any on what that might look like, or what it does look like?
I certainly can, because I have a sample form right in front of me, Robin. So if you're happy to bear with me while I have a look. Question 10 is not about ancestry. What I might just hand this over to Donna, who's sitting beside me. She can find out which question the ancestry one is, and we'll come back to it once we've located the right page. How about that? In the meantime, has anyone else got a question?
So Kylie did have a question from Havelock in their question. So she thanked you for the presentation. She's just wondering, how will census forms be distributed, completed, and collected across Havelock houses, 106 tenancies, to maximise participation and ensure accurate representation? And I guess maybe that also goes if there's any other specialist homelessness, accommodation crisis and transitional and so on. How are the census forms going to be distributed, completed and collected in those sites?
Certainly, yes. Kylie, hi. You're on my agenda for this afternoon to talk to regarding Havelock House specifically, but more broadly, using Ainslie Village as an example, we've gotten a number count of the amount of beds that are there and so we will be issuing personal forms to Ainslie Village, and we will also actually be on site to assist with people that want assistance in in terms of either filling it in or understanding it or whatever. We can provide assistance in a number of ways. As far as Havelock House specifically is concerned, I believe it actually sits in another stream, but we are planning on accompanying Orange Sky, and Kylie, I'll talk further to you later about coming to that barbecue I believe that you're putting on. We're keen to be there.
And is it perhaps, Deb, and I know I'm probably creating more work for you too, but like if there are services who are hearing this and wondering also about, well, how do we best engage, or what can we do to support that? Is it good for people to just be reaching out to you, making that contact, and probably talking to you further about that?
Absolutely, in bold and capitals. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm very keen for feedback. We believe that we have a good plan, but we're very aware of the fact that we only know what we know, and if there's a gap that we have failed to address, then we certainly want to know about it. We do have a couple of irons in the fire for the south side, but they haven't yet come to. We've got the Woden Community Service, which has been locked in. There are a couple of others that we are still working on. Robin, I have got that ancestry question in front of me now. Are you happy for me to go back to that now?
Yeah. I just had another question in relation to what you was talking about earlier. So, but that's okay. You go, and then I'll come in with
Let's
mine.
finish that subject. I think, and we'll continue with that subject, and then I'll come back to the ancestry one.
Oh, okay. So it was just around where does specialist domestic violence crisis accommodation services fit into the homelessness sector? Are they incorporated as and being seen as such in relation to the census?
Yes. Okay, there is a specialist team dealing with what we are classifying as protected addresses. So that's, I believe there's also some youth services and domestic violence services primarily fit in that scope. I think there's also some men's services, but anything that has been identified as a protected address has a specialised section within the ABS, and they are actually in the process. I saw in our ACT chat, our Southern New South Wales chat actually, that they're actually in the office concentrating on sending the information out to all those services as we speak.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Shall I move on to the ancestry question, or is there anything else before I jump back? Okay, so this is if I hold this up, it's probably going to, the blur won't mean you can see it anyway, but it's question 23 in this census. And it says, please provide 4 ancestries, and it gives you 4, about 8 or 9. There's 8 or 9 where you can tick the box, and then there is 4 others. So if you, and by tick the box, I mean it says English, Irish, those, I guess, more common ones. The other ancestries, it says to specify. So you've got 4 options as in addition to, I think it's about 8 standard ones. Does that clarify? Robin, did that answer your question?
Yeah,
Sorry.
it kind of does. I was just, is there a question somewhere, and I imagine there would be in the census, around Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander identity / heritage as such?
Person of Aboriginal and Torres Strait bottom.
Robin, I'm not sure. I have not read this entire document. I have to plead guilty, but there is a question that does not appear to be specific to their Aboriginal ancestry, like whether or not they come from Ngunnawal country or not that I can see. That does not mean it's not there, because there are 57 questions. It's not in the obvious location though, which is where the other ancestry questions are.
Okay, thank you.
That it is a bit of a shame, isn't it? It does seem like something that could have been picked up.
Yeah.
I'll just, I think Grace in the chat had a question, was keen to know more about remuneration, how that will work for rough sleepers, and you might have covered at the beginning. I must admit, I was sort of frantically trying to figure out what had gone on with the links there too, Deb. So if you did cover that, could you just there's probably a few people on the session now who would probably appreciate that too. So how will the count actually work for rough sleepers, because it is a bit different?
Yes, look, I will certainly address that, but just everyone close your eyes for a second, because I'm just going to flick back through the screens to get the right one, and I don't want to give you all a headache. No, what? Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay. This is the rough, apologies for my somewhat incompetent management of the slides there, but this is the rough sleeper week. So I actually don't think I made this point at the beginning. There is, in the homelessness sector, because of I guess the nature of trying to get coverage and the itinerant nature of people's moving around, we do have the whole week to count people. So that starts on the 10th and goes all the way through to the 16th. What we will be doing at various points in that week, and I will ask you for some feedback in a minute on where we need to be covering, but what we will be doing is wandering around in pairs during daylight hours only. It's been determined that safety outside those hours means that we should not be out after dark. And we have the special short form, which some of you already know about. It's a 2-page form, and that is specifically being used to interview people that are sleeping rough. We do have some locations where we're going to be specifically going, but we would welcome any feedback if on places that we don't know about. And one of the I guess part of our strategy is that we are going to be present at locations that we think rough sleepers will be attracted or will be going to, such as Blue Door, Vinnie's Roadhouse, Early Morning Centre, and Orange Sky.
And so, Deb, just to clarify, if people aren't counted on, so is that whole week that we have to actually count people, that's not just rough sleepers, that's also for people who may be in other forms of homelessness, is that correct?
It is across the homelessness sector, yes.
Okay.
However, if people are in accommodation, such as boarding houses and the like, certainly the hope is that they will fill the form in on the day or for the day, because they know where they're going to be. But we will be present in those places all week to help people, because obviously getting people to fill in the forms on a specific night at a specific time, etc., is a challenging thing, and there does need to be follow-up to try and ensure we get as much information as possible and as much compliance, I guess, as possible. When I say compliance, I mean completed forms or partially completed forms, because that is also something that we're very aware of, the fact that 57 questions is quite intimidating. So we're just looking, I guess, to get the information that the people are willing to give us. And for those people that weren't here to start with, I guess the two things that I would like to reiterate is that the critical point from a homelessness point of view is that in the suburb, we need to put none or non-crisis.
Address.
For under the suburb, yeah, in the address section. And the other thing is that what we are going to be doing is emphasising the privacy around it. There is none of this information is shared with any other government or non-government organisation. It is completely private and held completely within the.
That's no sign.
Thanks. And I think Sally in the chat's just popped in some useful information about, community field officers being out and about. They're being employed specifically to concentrate on enumerating the rough sleepers. And there's also a specialised inclusive team working with major homelessness services. So they'll be out and about in identified hotspots. Trevor also raised a good question too, which is if people do have trouble with literacy, they have difficulties with doing the forms, can services provide assistance filling in the forms for them? Is there any particular protocols around that, Deb?
Yes. Look, before I answer Trevor's question, Sally, I'd just like to say that is actually, we are the specialised inclusive team working with the homelessness services. That is us, and it's my team and my boss and all of the, and I've been employing all the community field officers. So, and yes, we have been interacting. I'm not sure if you were here from the beginning, but if there is someone that you think has not been contacted that should be, please let me know, because we're keen to know. Trevor, to answer your question, yes, literacy is something that we expect to encounter a lot. Now, technically, I guess the official policy is that if somebody is helping significantly or is filling in the form for somebody, then they need to be ABS trained. So that means one of the community field officers. However, if somebody comes up to you and says, what does this question mean, or how do I answer that, then I believe, that sense should prevail. If they just want you to read, you can read them the question. You can explain the question to them, anything like that. So, and in some cases, what we're actually doing is we've got staff that are going to be with us, because, well, as you've pointed out, there will be some people that are more comfortable dealing with people that they're commonly interacting with. We have a couple of options that we can provide to people to be there and help at a certain time, if that is something that would be of benefit. The other thing that we could do is we could provide some training to the people that are in the facility so that they can then help as much as they like.
And Deb, I just have a question too. I know that, we're focusing obviously on trying to get everything in place for the census coming up and getting that as complete as possible. But is there a feedback loop for services and others to flag issues after the census? Because obviously the census is always trying to look at, the ABS always, I know with each census, trying to look at how they can improve things. So is there a way that people can provide that feedback or flag issues if they think that there might be just things that can be done in future censuses? Yeah.
Yes, there is. They're actually currently advertising jobs, I believe, for people to go around and ask for feedback. So that will certainly be an opportunity for people. And we are continuing our role in the weeks post-census. So that there may be an opportunity there too for feedback to come. I will go back to the end of the slide so everybody gets a chance to write down my details, and anything that they would like me to pass on, I will do my best to do so. Donna just wants to add something on the rough sleeper thing, so I'll just.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Oh, can you put on? Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Oh, I just wanted to mention in regard to rough sleeper week when we're out and about. If people are asleep in cars or asleep where we may see them, we won't be waking them up and disturbing them. Obviously, we will have a sheet that's called observation. So in order to capture as many numbers as we can, the community field officers will be capturing that. Will be doing out a observation sheet, if you like. Just so that we do capture as many as we can. I just wanted to make that point. Because if we do see people asleep in cars, if they're sleeping, that's a good thing. We don't want to disturb them, but we do want to make sure they're included.
We certainly do see people dispersed in different parts of Canberra who aren't necessarily engaged with services, but might be sleeping in those kind of situations that you say. So that's good to know that is also happening. Yeah, thanks, Donna.
Yes, thanks, Donna, for picking me up on that. That I'd missed that. The other thing that is relevant to that is that if we have someone refuse and say that they're not going to do it, then we can also pick them up through that same same channel. Yeah. I just noticed in the chat that Grace asked about remunerate. Good pick up. Those words are very close, aren't they? Yes, the answer is no. There is no money being offered for people to participate. Yes, there are incentives. They're black socks and beanies, and we are putting on a few events. So, but there will not be any cash payments.
Apologies, Grace. I was thinking of numerating, and I was mixed up the numerating with renumerating, but there is an important distinction there. So, yeah. Okay, well, look, we're drawing closer to the end of the session. Are there any final questions that people just wanted to raise? And Deb, as I said earlier, if you're okay with that, I can pop your contact details in an email we'll send out to participants after this too. So I encourage people to note those details now if they want to contact Deb soon, but we will try and get that out because I think that's obviously an important part of making this work is having that direct engagement with those services who are working with people who are experiencing homelessness in all its different forms. So and just maybe one quick, I don't know, this is probably post-census too, but what is the time frame from when we will get from when the census is undertaken and then when we're likely to get the homelessness data? When does that, do you know what the time frame is for when that sort of will come through? Because I think it's a little while from memory. Certainly not straight away.
Yes, it was on one of my slides, but I did try to speak to it very briefly because I didn't want everyone to leave in disgust. It was yes.
I think we like Christina, but I think it's just how it is, isn't it?
It is. The data boffins have got a lot of work to do with the amount of information that they're going to have. But so they are expecting some preliminary information much broader than homelessness that will come out in 27, but then the homelessness information is expected early to mid 28.
Seems like an awful long time to wait, but we'll just have to, I guess.
It does feel like a long time to wait, but the better we can make this information, then I would like to just ask if anybody around this room, like you've mentioned, the south side, we've have struggled to find places that seem to be particularly relevant for the south side. So if there is, I did notice a couple, and I will go through the chat. But can you please let us know if you've got something?
And you're also, because I did reach out to some of our colleagues a bit at the, in Queanbeyan and that region around too. So you're also operating out there as well. Is Yeah. So, and it's Queanbeyan and Goulburn and
Canberra, Queanbeyan and Goulburn, yes.
Yeah. Okay, well, look, I did want to make sure that we do finish on time. We've got 2 more minutes. So I just want to say big thank you, Deb, and to Donna and to the team. I know it's incredibly busy. I imagine it these last few weeks in the lead up to the census. So thank you for taking some time out to talk. And we will send out we'll put the presentation on our website. I'm hoping to put it onto our the recording also onto our website, but it is a one-person show at the moment, as I said, so just give me, that may not happen straight away. I will try to do it as soon as I can. And I'll send around also Deb's contact details via email to the people who registered for the event. So that would just be another way to just reach out to Deb. But look, thank you very much for that. And thanks to everyone who joined with us and with persevering through some of the technical issues that we had. I hope the session has been useful, helped to strengthen your understanding of how the ABS counts homelessness, but also importantly, how the sector can be involved in supporting as an accurate and complete count as possible, which is really important, as we stressed earlier. And look, we do know also, just very quickly before we wind up, before the census, we do also have Homelessness Week, which is also in the week before the census. It's another great opportunity to really highlight and promote the issues around homelessness and to try and get some systemic change. So we will also be circulating. If you haven't already subscribed to our mailing list, I encourage you to do so. We'll send around some information about some of the events that are happening then as well. But look, thank you very much for joining us. I do encourage you to share the information and make use of the ABS resources. And I hope that you have a good rest of the day. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for all your time and for making the time to come along. And yes, we'd be very interested in being a presence at any events for the Homelessness Week. So please keep me in the loop for those, and we'll see what we can organise.
Thanks very much, Deb. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks. Bye-bye.